Thanks, Kyle. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm here today to talk about the grants program. And so at the Stax Foundation, where grants originate, we have an underlying philosophy of wanting to support developers, designers, community leaders to build a more open source and user-owned internet powered by Stax smart contracts, Clarity smart contracts, and secured by Bitcoin. And grants are just one point on what we call this spectrum of support. So as you know, Kyle represents Stax Ventures and Stax Accelerator. You could think of that as like one very far end of the spectrum. And all the way down at the other end is our community grants, free Clarity education through workshops and boot camps and hackathons. And then scattered in between, there are several different points. So there's event grants, developer grants at different scales, chapter grants, which focus on supporting different regions and mobilizing their communities in those regions. And then there's also the Stax Web3 Startup Lab. And so where to start with your journey on this? So there's a recently launched pipeline that launches from grants.stax.org, and that will take you and lead you to all the resources that you're going to need. So that'll point you to the grants GitHub repo, which outlines all of the docs, the FAQs, application guidelines, deliverable guidelines. Those docs are under construction at the moment. They'll be updated early next week, and that will sort of give you all of the details that you need. If you go under issues, you'll also see all of the applications, past and present and current. And then if you go to the projects, you'll see the projects board that is a Kanban view that helps you understand the phase that each grant is in. And then there's discussion boards, which we're also activating now. And so when you begin your application process, come armed with some, important but only a handful of things. So what's your final deliverable? And as Brittany mentioned in the past, in the previous session, we really want to focus on improving speed and leveraging the Stax 2.1 unlocks and deepening the connection to Bitcoin. We're also big fans of anything that helps empower and attract Clarity devs to the Stax environment and or founders. And then you want to sort of help set your roadmap, help us understand what those milestone deliverables are going to be to get from start to completion, help us understand what your project mission statement is, and then anything that you can provide as an attachment, a pitch deck, code repos, even a short video, links to community testimony, sort of supporting the idea that you're going to work on, and really be cognizant of, what are the key problems that you're hoping to address? How do you plan to measure success? And what's your plan for community engagement throughout the process? And then the phases that you go through in the grant journey is first the application phase. And you'll see that we recently revised the process from being applications approved on a rolling basis to a cohort model. And so we actually just awarded our first cohort of grants, which we'll go through later on in this presentation. But the cohort works to where there's an application opening date and then an application close date. And so in between, applications can be submitted. You may get a pre-review, some dialogue occurring in the GitHub comments. And then once the application phase closes, it might be closed, but that means that the next upcoming cohort application phase would have opened. So applications are technically always open. But then during that period of time when they're closed, that's when the grant review committee begins their review process. So we had a goal last quarter of having at least 80% of all application reviews be done by non-foundation staff. And with the cohort of grants that were just approved, we're really thrilled that we can say every single one of those applications received at least a minimum of 3 reviews from non-foundation staff, which we're really proud of. Once those are approved, you begin the onboarding phase. And so that will start with a Zoom call where we kick it off. We explain the whole process. We'll send a secure and private survey to collect some information to help us onboard you. There is a third-party KYC process you go through to verify where you live in the world, your identity, and then a contract that needs to be signed. Once that's all done, the first payment's dispersed, and then all subsequent payments are done at the successful completion of those milestones that you identify in your application, concluding with your final deliverable and final payment. And so in an application, the things that we look for, we really just want you to go through all the docs that are available, educate yourself on the process. All the work needs to be open source, and it can't be dependent on any closed source projects for the outcome to actually work to its full extent. We really want to focus on new and novel concepts. So, go through, search through the past applications, educate yourself on what's already been funded, really try to figure out how you can provide something new and novel and not duplicate the efforts that have been previously funded. Make sure that you're engaging the community and making that demand be known. We encourage you to start small. We like all first-time builders or first-time grantees to first be awarded a grant for up to $25,000 before we'll entertain larger grants. Make sure that you are paying yourself a fair wage, but think about the hours and the total budget that you're asking for, and make sure that it pencils out. And again, we don't want to sort of award too large of a grant at first. So let's build a relationship. Make sure not to include any material goods, whether it be laptops or software, things that are being purchased just for that. We like to really focus on the hours that go into the development of software and of different improvements to the Stax protocol. If there are any types of audits or third-party services required, make sure that you flag that in your application so we can work with you on those items. Make sure that you're focusing on the Stax mission. We want to accelerate the user-owned internet. Again, new and novel. Be very clear with your project scope and deliverables in your audience, what the outcomes are, how they're going to be measured, and then really try to think about how you can help us all feel comfortable with the application, and has it been de-risked? Have you built some familiarity with the team? Are there any technical dependencies that might need to be first unlocked? If so, just highlight those for us and how you plan to overcome any of those types of challenges. And then here you can see the range of different grants that were approved in this latest cohort. So, these are really high value, high impact projects in our opinion. So it could be anything from the Stax Wallet Connect, which is going to allow for the Stax wallets to leverage the largest Wallet Connect protocol that's available out there, Lightning stacking pools. So now people, as Brighton was saying, having continuous stacking, that will actually be able to be paid out in Lightning payments. And a whole another range of other programs that range from hackathons on the community side to a SIP that focuses on staking for NFTs and fungible tokens at the very technical end. So lastly, I would just encourage you to go to grants.stax.org and make sure that you reach out if you have any questions, and we look forward to seeing any applications come our way. That's all I have. Kyle, back to you.